Hello, what's going on, Grecians? Welcome back to another episode of The Scientific Mind. This is Sir Eman, and today we are going to talk about waste management. But before we start our discussion, let's have our prayer first. Waste management. So what are waste? Waste, also known as rubbish, trash, refuse, garbage, junk, litter, and earth, is unwanted or useless materials. In biology, waste is any of the many unwanted substances or toxins that are expelled from living organisms, metabolic waste such as urea and sweat. According to Basel Convention definition of waste, waste are substances or objects which are disposed of, are intended to be disposed of, or are required to be disposed of by provisions of the law. Disposal means in any operation which may lead to resource recovery, recycling, reclamation, direct reuse, or alternative uses. Source is Annex 4B of the Basel Convention. What is the Basel Convention? The Basel Convention on the Control of Transboundary Movements of Hazardous Waste and Their Disposal, usually known simply as Basel Convention, is an international treaty that was designed to reduce the movements of hazardous waste between nations, especially to prevent the transfer of hazardous waste from developed to less developed countries. It does not, however, address the movement of radioactive waste. The convention is also intended to minimize the amount and toxicity of waste generated, to ensure their environmentally sound management as closely as possible to the source of generation, and to assist LDCs or the less developed countries in environmentally sound management of the hazardous and other waste they generate. This convention was opened for signature on March 22, 1899 and entered into force on May 5, 1992. Other definition of waste produced by United Nations Statistics Division or UNSD is waste are materials that are not prime products, or when we say prime products, products that are produced in the market, for which the generator has no further use in terms of his or her own purposes of production, transformation, or consumption, and of which he or she wants to dispose. Waste may be generated during the extraction of raw materials, the processing of raw materials into intermediate and final products, the consumption of final products, and other human activity. Residual, cycled, or reused at the generation are excluded. What are the kinds of waste? First, we have solid waste. Solid waste are waste in solid forms, domestic, commercial, or industrial waste. Examples of these are plastics, styrofoam containers, bottles, cans, papers, scrap iron, and other trash. Another kind of waste are the liquid waste. These are the waste in liquid form. Examples are domestic washing, chemicals, oils, wastewater from ponds, manufacturing industries, and other sources. According to EPA regulation, solid waste is Any garbage or refuse that may come from the municipal solid waste. It may sludge from a wastewater treatment plant, a water supply treatment plant, or air pollution control facility. It may also include other discarded material or solid, liquid, semi-solid, or contain gaseous materials from industrial, commercial, mining, and agricultural operations and from community activities. Classification of waste according to their properties. We have biodegradable. Biodegradable can be degraded. Includes paper, foods, fruits, and others. Next is non-biodegradable waste. These are waste that cannot be degraded. Includes plastics, bottles, old machines, cans, styrofoam containers, and others. Classification of waste according to their effects on human health and the environment. We have hazardous waste. These are substances unsafe to use commercially, industrially, agriculturally, or economically, and have any of the following properties: ignitability, or the ability to be ignited, or the flammability, corrosivity, reactivity, and toxicity. Next is non-hazardous waste. These are substances used to use commercially, industrially, agriculturally, or economically, and do not have any of those properties mentioned above. These substances usually create disposal problems. Next is a classification of waste according to their origin and type. We have municipal solid waste. Solid waste include household garbage, rubbish, construction and demolition debris, sanitation residues, packaging material, trade refuse, etc., which are managed by any municipality. Second, biomedical waste. These are solid or liquid waste including containers, intermediate or end products generated during diagnosis, treatments, and research activities of medical sciences. Aside from that, we have industrial waste. Includes liquid and solid waste that are generated by manufacturing and processing units of industries like chemical, petroleum, coal, metal gas, sanitary and paper, and etc. Agricultural waste. Waste generated from farming activities. These substances are mostly biodegradable. Fishery waste. Waste generated due to fishery activities. These are extensively found in coastal and estuarine areas. Radioactive waste. Waste containing radioactive materials. Usually, these are byproducts of nuclear processes. Sometimes, industries that are not directly involved in nuclear activities may also produce some radioactive waste. Example, radioisotopes, chemical sludge, and etc. Last, the e-waste or electronic waste. Electronic waste generated from any modern establishments. Impacts of waste if not managed wisely. First, it affects our health. Next, affects our socio-economic condition, affects our coastal and marine environment, affects climate. Rising global temperatures are exceeded to raise sea levels and change precipitation and other local climate conditions. It changes the regional climates, causing to alter forests, crop yields, and water supplies. It may result to desert expansion in existing rangeland, and features of some of our national parks might be permanently altered. Impacts of waste. Some countries are expected to become warmer, although sulfates may limit warming in some areas. Scientists are unable to determine which part of those countries will become wetter or drier, but there is likely to be an overall trend toward increased precipitation and evaporation, more intense rainstorm, and drier soil. Impacts of waste. Activities that have altered the chemical composition of the atmosphere. Buildup of GHG, primarily carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. Carbon dioxide is released to the atmosphere by burning of fossil fuels, wood and wood products, and solid waste. Methane is emitted from the decomposition of organic waste in landfills, the raising of livestock, and the production and transport of coal, natural gas, and oil. Nitrous oxide is emitted during agricultural and industrial activities, as well as during combustion of solid waste and fossil fuels. In 1977, the US emitted 1/5 of the total global greenhouse gases. Impacts of waste on health. First, chemical poisoning through chemical inhalation. Second, uncollected waste can obstruct the stormwater runoff, resulting in flood. Third, low birth weight. Fourth, cancer. Fifth, malformation. And last, neurological disease. Impacts of waste on health. Nausea. Increase in hospitalization of diabetic residents living near hazard waste sites. Third, mercury toxicity from eating fish with high levels of mercury. Impacts of waste on environment. Number 1, waste breakdowns in landfills to form methane, a potent greenhouse gas. 2, change in climate and destruction of ozone layer due to waste biodegradable. Third, littering due to waste pollution, illegal dumping. And fourth, leaching is a process by which solid waste enters the soil and groundwater and contaminating them. It is estimated that food wasted by the US and Europe could feed the world 3 times over. Food waste contributes to excess consumption of fresh water and fossil fuels, which, along with methane and carbon emissions from decomposing food, impacts global climate change. Every ton of food waste prevented has the potential to save 4.2 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. If we all stop wasting food that could have been eaten, the carbon dioxide impact would be equivalent of taking 1 in 4 cars off the road. What should be done? Residents may be organized into small groups to carry out the following. First, construction of backyard compost pit. Second, construction of storage bin where recyclable and reusable materials are stored by each household. Third, construction of storage centers where recyclable and reusable materials collected by the street sweepers are stored prior to selling to junk dealers. Fourth, maintenance of cleanliness in yards and streets. Fifth, greening of their respective areas, encouraging others to join. That's all we have for today. I hope you learn new knowledge about earth science, especially the topic about waste management. Again, this is Sir Eman and the Scientific Mind. See you on next episode.